Chelsea have held talks over the signing of attacking midfielder Xavi Simons at RB Leipzig as well. But yeah, now they're in talks.
So guys, I wanted to add something more on Chelsea. They keep working on the Xavi Simons deal. I told you yesterday, advanced talks. I repeat, advanced talks. In this case, it's similar to Liverpool Bayern with Luis Diaz. In this case, very good relationship club to club. Leipzig, Chelsea, they are speaking directly to reach an agreement. So work in progress between Red Bull Leipzig and Chelsea for Xavi Simons. Chelsea are also pushing to on Xavi Simons. Today, some messages from the player, removing Red Bull Leipzig from his Instagram bio. So, quite a clear message. Someone said, but no, this is not a transfer message. It is a transfer message. Xavi Simons wants to...
If Chelsea sign Xavi Simons, will they win the Premier League title this season?
There's no win. There's no. They missed out win.
Oh,
we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is. Dan Samatan is going for.
It has win here, so maybe the graphic just.
All right, okay.
I'd avoid to point out the mistake by the graphic people, Shaq.
Yes.
You know, this is a team match.
Now they're going to get yelled
I
at.
thought it was a mistake by Dan Samatan.
Guys, this question
I was just making a point. We don't know what Dan Samatan is talking about.
This question was for Frank. Let Frank have his 2 minutes of fame. Frank?
I don't think so. I mean, I really appreciate Xavi Simons. I saw him starting at Paris Saint-Germain, and I saw what he did to RB Leipzig. But again, there is a difference between playing for RB Leipzig and playing after for a big club like Chelsea. And there is a way to settle down the quickest as possible. But we don't know how it's going to be Xavi Simons. And if you have to compare right now, Liverpool and Chelsea, for example, you will say that Liverpool are the favorites. But it's encouraging to see the signing that I saw from Chelsea, and Chelsea can be, let's say, one of the contender, but more, I would say, more one of the 4 teams for the Champions League. But to pretend that you can win the Premier League, you still need more consistency and more experience for me.
Let me go to Gab quickly on this one. Gab, what is the latest on this one? Will Chelsea get Xavi Simons?
I think it's blowing hot and cold. I think he's made it very clear that he wants to move on. I think Leipzig are ready to cash in. For me, the big question with Xavi Simons is what's the knock-on effect going to be on the rest of the team? How is it going to impact Cole Palmer? How is it going to impact Enzo? Who's going to play where? You know, these are just questions. You don't just drop Xavi Simons into a team and say, oh, look, he's a good player. Chelsea have made a bunch of other signings. What does Maresca actually have in mind? And like I said, with Chelsea, it often looks like, oh, look, here's an asset. Let's sign him, and then we'll figure out what to do with him later, knowing that if he's young and if he's talented, you know, we can always kind of flip him and sort out our books if it doesn't work out for us. So, yeah, I don't know. He adds gaps, sure. But would he crack the starting 11? I'm not 100% certain.
Just for a little bit of context, because we seem to be loving Xavi Simons and Benjamin Sesko and these players from Leipzig. Just a reminder, Leipzig missed out on the top 4 in Bundesliga. And part of the reason as to why they missed out is because Xavi Simons was not playing at his best. Benjamin Sesko was not as productive as they thought he would be. Lois Openda was coming up short. I'm just saying, we seem to believe and think and project that these guys were magnificent over here, they're going to be great over there. Well, they were not magnificent over here. And so that projection as to magically they're going to be great somewhere else, I think we're taking a leap with both Sesko and Xavi Simons.
Gab?
I think I'm right in saying I think they lost 8 or 9 games out of 10 in the Champions League. And if there's a cautionary tale to the model, it's Leipzig, because this is a team that accumulates talent and then says, all right, we'll figure out later how the pieces fit together. And this is why I'm not 100% on Xavi Simons. Does he add depth and make you better? Yeah, but Chelsea have added a lot of players that add depth and make them better. But then you got to come up with a lineup where it makes sense for these guys to play together. So I don't think it's Xavi Simons who puts Chelsea over the top.
Alex Isak seems to be wanting out of Newcastle, probably heading to Liverpool. Sesko going to choose Manchester United again over Newcastle. So who do they go to? Nicholas Jackson at Chelsea. Is that the answer, Ale Moreno? You've seen both Sesko and Nicholas Jackson play a lot. Who would you choose?
Okay, right. As you asked me this question, I actually will hand the floor to Shaq at Hislop, who has said, when I have described Nico Jackson as a player, and I said that he could cause chaos to back lines. I believe that Xhaka, and I quote, said something along the lines of he creates chaos for his own team. So you go, Xhaka, you tell me, Nico Jackson, Benjamin Sesko.
Listen, I'll be honest, the Nico Jackson option doesn't make an awful lot of sense to me, other than it being a financial one. A cheap and quick fix. But I just feel that there are other options out there.
But if Isak leaves, surely they need to go for somebody.
Absolutely, they have to go for somebody. Sesko is a preferred option. If he chooses Manchester United, then you have to start looking at elsewhere. Ollie Watkins certainly was a target of Manchester United, but they kind of were put off by his age. But if you need an immediate fix and somebody proven in the Premier League, Ollie Watkins is an option. We said Brentford, kind of given Brentford's mass departure this summer available. He's only a year younger than Watkins, but still a viable option. For me, I just don't see Nicholas Jackson as being the person to fill any kind of void, let alone one left by Alexander Isak.
That's the serious Shaka Hislop voice going down.
Yeah. So you like Nico Jackson? So you're saying?
I like him at Chelsea.
Yeah.
Let me just
keep on playing well in the next pre-season matches, and just hope that he does enough to show that when a new striker does come, which obviously seems the way things are going, that he is able to compete for that top position up front.
Let's have a little look at the back page of the Star. Let's stay with strikers. In fact, that is simply the headline, back page of the Star. How Waiter's rebel pair train alone with Isak and Wissa step up push for two moves. Obviously, for Isak potentially away and for Wissa potentially in at St James's Park. How likely do you think it is, Jonathan, that we get either or potentially both of these moves happening before the deadline, especially if they're starting to agitate a little bit in this sense?
Yeah, I saw one story saying that Newcastle weren't going to let Isak go until they'd signed two replacement strikers. And at the rate that Newcastle have been doing deals this window, that means Isak's probably there for another 4 or 5 years at least. They obviously want Wissa. I think they see Wissa as more of a Callum Wilson replacement. I think the problem for Isak in terms of, I may have said this last week, in terms of getting the move that he so clearly wants out of Newcastle, is that none of the teams that he would realistically move to and would be able to pay the sort of fee that Newcastle are demanding have to sign a striker before the end of the window. Liverpool obviously have done their business. Arsenal have done their business. It's hard to see too many other suitors for him. So that is going to make it harder for Isak to get his move this window, because it's not a situation where Newcastle can put another club over a barrel and say you need this guy, and you're going to pay what we demand, because that simply isn't the case. The fact that Newcastle are obviously going to want probably two replacements before they let him go does complicate matters, because frankly there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of decisiveness and positive action behind the scenes at Newcastle this summer, and that is what slowed things down. That's clearly what has frustrated Isak so much.
Where do you see the futures of these two that are pictured in the back page of the Star then, Ihsan? As Andrew Isak, do you agree probably to stay at St James's Park and therefore Wissa not able to come in, or what do you think?
It's hard to say, but with the way this is rumbling on, it does seem as though Liverpool have a real shot at getting Isak before this window closes. Eddie Howe, of course, recently said how Isak wasn't on this pre-season tour of Asia for Newcastle because of a thigh strain, but then just the other day he says that he has no control over Isak's future, and it's very bizarre that he's training now with Real Sociedad, which is obviously his previous club. He's using their facilities, which you can't imagine Newcastle will be too pleased with. So in terms of direction, it does seem as though something could arise from this, and Liverpool have already tentatively, from an informal aspect, registered their interest in